If you don't already have a library card, you might want to after watching this video. Hi, my name is Paige. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my 2022 stats. I wasn't sure if it was a little bit too late since everyone tends to put this out at the very beginning of the year, but it's only been a couple of weeks, so I decided to compile everything and put it in this video for you. So we are going to be going over not only my stats, but how much money I spent on books last year. We're just gonna jump right in, starting with last year. I read 137 books and I DNF'd 11 books. So when you look at my page count breakdown, I read 50,284 pages, which is about an average of 367 pages per book. And since I usually read most of my books through audiobooks, I counted up all those hours and it said 1,393 hours worth of audio, which is about 58 days worth of audio. But I listen to most of my audiobooks between 2 and 3 times speed, so I would say about half of that. So maybe like 28-ish days or so. Still a lot of days. For my breakdown of the ways that I read these books, 10% of them were read physically, 2% were through an ebook, 19% was a mix between reading along physically and listening to the audiobook, and 69% was just straight audiobook. So I had a job that was in an office setting, so I was able to just put my earphones in and listen while I was doing the work because I didn't have to read much of anything. I just had to like check pictures and stuff. So it was really nice to have something that I could listen to an audiobook basically all day long. So for my genre breakdown, we have 38 romances, 37 fantasy, 10 historical fiction, 10 sci-fi, 10 thriller, 9 contemporary, 4 horror, 4 classics, 2 mystery, 1 paranormal, 1 dystopian, and 1 mythology. And I think a few of those I might have just put a genre that I felt fit it more, but some of those probably overlapped a little bit more. Like the dystopian probably could have been counted as sci-fi, but I don't know how I really tracked it. Some days I just kind of like type things in and that is what it is. Most of my reading last year ended up being 4-star, but the breakdown was 1 1-star read, 3 2-star reads, 35 3-star reads, 82 4-star reads, and 16 5-star reads. And if you want to know what a couple of those 5-star reads are, you can watch my best and worst of 2022 video. I will link it in the cards for you. I feel like my age breakdown looks a lot different than the past 2 years because I had 71% of my reads being adult, and then we had 25 that were young adult, 2 that were new adult, and 2% that were middle grade, which was just really interesting to me because I felt like probably because when I started booktube I was picking up a lot of YA because that's what seemed to be popular and what I thought I liked, but as I have read more books I realized that I lean heavily towards adult now, and I will still pick up young adult if it's on my shelf because I want to get through all of the books that I've collected over the past few years. I anticipate seeing more adult books, but I still do have quite a few middle grade and young adult that I need to get through. My representation breakdowns looked like 51% of my reads had some sort of LGBTQ plus representation in them, 31% had some sort of disability representation, 16 were written by BIPOC authors, and 31% were considered own voices. For my top 5 authors, starting at the bottom, we have Shauna McGuire. I read 4 of her books. Then we have TJ Klune. I read 5 of his books. I don't remember reading that many, but apparently I read 5. Then we have Ruby Dixon. I read 5 of those I Used to Play a Barbarian books. Then we have Serena Bowen. I read 7 of her books. I probably will not be reading from Serena Bowen any further. I talked about that in my worst book video, and I'll just move on from that. But in my top spot was Brandy Sandy, and I read 10 Brandon Sanderson books last year. So I am trying to work my way through a little bit of the Cosmere. I started off with Mistborn series, and then I also read Warbreaker and Emperor's Soul, and I think that might be it. I'm unsure about that one. I feel like there's one more that I'm missing, but I'm trying to work my way through those books. But of the 104 authors that I read last year, 57 of them were new to me authors, and I think that's still because I'm relatively new to booktube, and prior to booktube I hadn't been reading for a while, so there's a lot of authors I'm discovering for the first time. Like I think Shauna McGuire might have been a first time read for me this year. Okay, but let's get into what you're actually here for. So like all the fellow nosy people who are here, you want to know how much I spent on books, and I really like doing this every single year. It's just something fun so I can look back on and see how much I'm spending on books, and it's not something I really feel bad about sharing, just because books are really the only thing I spend money on besides clothes and some like random things around the house here and there. It's just something that I like to spend money on, and I don't feel like I really need to justify that any further. We all spend money on the things that we value and enjoy, and I value having books on my bookshelf and seeing the things that I've read and enjoyed, and if I don't love them and I already spent money on it, I don't really feel guilty passing it along into a little free library or something, or even selling it back to my local bookstore that they can resell it to somebody else. So book buying is just fun, and I'm just here to share what I spent money on and not brag about how much I can afford. So I hope that nobody thinks that I'm bragging here. I'm just sharing with you so you can be nosy like me, because I would love to see the numbers for everyone around me and how much they spend on books too, because I see you collectors. I see you collectors with your fancy editions, and I'm curious. I want to know how much all of that cost to have the most beautiful bookshelves. I want to know. I want a price tag so I can save up for it. But I'm hoping that next year I can bring to you the analytics for being monetized on YouTube and how much money I was able to earn from that, and if any of that money could go back to my book buying habit, because that would be ideal in my life. My dream is to be able to earn enough money on YouTube that everything that I earn I can just spend on all the books that I want. I feel like that feels fair. So hopefully next year we will come to you with a YouTube analytics stats video, but for now let's just talk about how much I spent. I've been rambling too much. So last year I purchased 140 titles. 57 of them I purchased through Amazon or Audible. 21% were from local bookstores and 22% were from Barnes & Noble. Of those 140 titles, 123 of them were physical books and 17 of those were audiobooks. And looking at the physical titles I read 47 of them, which is only 38% of the physical books that I purchased. But looking at the audiobooks, I read all 17 of the audiobooks that I purchased. So looking between the audio and physical books that I bought last year and that I read 64 of those titles, which means I read 46% of the things that I purchased. Does that make sense? I hope that was a sentence. I think that was a sentence. I did also DNF 4 of the books that I purchased last year, which means that I am left with 72 books purchased that I did not read. So when you average the total cost of everything I spent over the total titles that I purchased, it comes out to about $11.20 per book for a grand total of, are you ready? Are you ready? $1,563.33. Yeah, but wait, that's about $806.40 worth of books I did not read. I know, everyone's cringing. I know it hurts your heart. It hurts me too, just a little bit, but we'll be okay, because in this year my goal is to really clear my shelves, and so I'm going to be putting out a vlog series where I'm trying to read at least 5 books per vlog, where I'm trying to dwindle down this stack of books that I purchased last year and did not read, plus other books that I've had on my backlist for a very, very long time. I also now have a library card. Let me grab it. Let me show you. It's really cool. Look at it. I have a library card now. I went in. I finally did it. And that gives me access to Libby. I also have access to Hoopla with another digital library card that I have, as well as my Scribd and Audible subscriptions. So I have plenty of audiobook availability to me now, so I should not be buying audiobooks for books I already own, which was all 17 of those audiobooks that I purchased this year. Yeah, those were for books I already owned, so that was a problem. That was definitely a problem. That being said, I'm not really gonna ban myself from buying any books. I feel like I do a pretty decent job throughout the year, just buying a couple here and there. It's usually just around my birthday and Christmas that I end up buying the books that I put on my wish list that my family wasn't able to get me, and I feel like if they gave me a gift card to somewhere, or if they give me cash or something, that those are the things that I can buy myself as a little treat, you know? So those are usually when I do the big book hauls, which I have one coming out in a couple of days that you can see, quite a large book haul. But I feel like putting a ban on my spending just doesn't really make sense, because it's really the only thing I spend money on, and I feel like it's doing nobody any harm, just my poor little wallet. But he's okay. He's okay. He'll survive. I do have 3 reading goals to share with you for the year, but you can check out my full list in my reading journal video. But for now, I'm just going to focus on 3. My first is to stop buying audiobooks for books I already own. I already said it. I have 4 different audiobook apps that I can use. So we're going to stick with those and not buy any extra credits on Audible. We're not doing it this year. We're not. My goal number 2 is to have 50% diversity in my reads. I feel like I did okay last year, but I definitely could have done better. So I just want to make sure that at least 50% have some sort of representation in them. And for my 3rd goal, I want to have less than 80 books on my physical TBR. And like I said, you'll be seeing a vlog series called Clear My Shelves coming out in the next couple of weeks. Should be my first one. So I'm going to try really hard to work through all of these books, but if I don't, that is okay too. There's really no limit on how long it needs to take me to read any of these books, but I would like to see less on my shelves so that I can fit more later. Okay, but that brings us to the end of this video. Please subscribe if you would like to see my reading challenge of clearing my shelf, and let me know in the comments if you spent nearly as much money as I did on books last year, and if you spent more, please let me know so I feel slightly better about it. But that is all that I have for this video. My next video should be out very, very shortly, and I will see you in that one.